right, everybody. Hey, it is Sunday, July the 30th. Unbelievable. We're about to turn another month tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Hey, I just had a brainstorm yesterday. This is kind of where I want to try something new anyway. Something push this channel outside the box a little bit. So what I plan on doing is re-recording or re-showing all of my videos from the trail, starting with Springer Mountain. But I'm going to have me commenting on top of it. Here's what I think that'll do for us, the community, is now I get to go back and tell y'all what's going on behind the scenes. Hopefully entertaining to you at some points. It will be for me. And also hopefully have some discussions on the questions you guys have been asking, whether it's food selection or shoes or whatever. And I'll try to let you see my mindset as it progresses through. Because ultimately what you're seeing when the guys out there and girls are turning their cameras on, I don't know, man, it's usually strategically done. What I want to be is a little more revealing on what was really going on behind the scenes, and so you guys get a better feel of really what's going on out on the trail. So we're going to do it. We're going to start this week and see how it goes. As always, your feedback means a lot to me, so let me know if this is worthwhile. I'll probably keep doing it, starting from Springer, going all the way to Katahdin. And it's also another cool way for me to get to relive the experience and kind of reflect on it and turn more of it into meaning. All right, guys. All right, so as this gets going, I think a cool thing that I just found out Windows 10 can do is do a game record mode. You don't have to be playing a game for it to work. It'll record your screen and record your voice if you so wish. Even record your video if you want. No need for y'all to see my mug today so far, but I think I'll use that at some points. What I want to do every morning now when we start this, or every time that I make one of these updates, is come to the guidebook. I did buy a PDF version as well as the book itself. That is available to you folks who are going to end up having to buy the AWOL's guide. Usually released, I think, in either late December or early January every year. And you can either choose to just download the PDF, which is cheap, get the book, which isn't expensive either. It's like $14 or something like that, or get both. And I chose to get both just in case I had a backup on my phone in case I lost the book. So most of you who have followed me, I try to show this at least every now and then, but I'll give a quick rundown of what you're seeing here on the page. If you look right here, you'll see that I'm starting at Springer Mountain on this page, and some things to keep in mind. So that is 0 mile, right? That is where the southern terminus starts for no-bows. And for southbounders, that is where the trail will end, obviously. But for the no-bows, and by the way, there is a no-bow book and a SOBO book. No-bow means northbound, SOBO means southbound. Southbounders who start at Katahdin also have a book they can buy. It's the same book, just the mileages and everything are oriented starting at Katahdin versus starting at Springer Mountain. So what you have here on the bottom of the page as we're looking at it is the miles remaining. So this year, 2189.8 is the total mileage of the trail. This changes every year, a little bit anyway, depending on if they have to reroute some of the parts of the trail. Then you'll see the miles here down this section. That's how many miles you have actually walked on the trail. And then it'll give you a description of what's at that mile marker. It'll give you like a little camera. That means there's a view up on top of Springer Mountain. And then the elevation at Springer Mountain is 3,782 feet. So all the way down this side, these are all the elevations. So especially important to us thru hikers who want to understand how bad the day or how good the day is going to be, depending on how your mindset is. I like climbing, don't like descending. So if I see the elevations going up, I'm usually good. If I see a stark decrease in elevation, I know my knees are going to feel like popping off my legs. Sorry, that's Blossom coughing. You all right, baby girl? Every time you get to shelters are in bold, and oftentimes, let's just say important landmarks are in bold, often where either a shelter or a town or something like that. And then here at this shelter, so Springer Mountain Shelter, which I stayed at last November, if you guys followed that video. It has a privy, that's a little moon signal. It has water. It has tenting, up to 18 tents, and it is huge up there. And then this shelter holds 12 people, and that is a big shelter. It's a 2-tiered shelter. So that's the information that this is giving you. So to start off today, and start off with my day 1 video, we started at Springer Mountain, obviously. My dad dropped me off at Big Stamp Gap right here on the Forest Service Road 42. I had to walk a mile up to Springer, recorded the video at the top, and then started my walk. So you can see what I try to tell everybody, all the way to Hawk Mountain on this day was very easy walking. Even this climb right here isn't bad. If you see, it starts at roughly mile 4.2, 4.3. And by the time you get to the mountain, you're at 6.7 maybe. So that's a very gentle incline over that distance. And it was a really good walk this morning. And maybe I was overly excited and fired up as well. So got the Hawk Mountain Shelter, ate lunch, and then moved on. Ended up stopping today at Gooch Gap gravel road right here. So when you see where I stopped on the video, this is where I was. I was at Gooch Gap, total of 17.1 miles for the day. All right, y'all. That's it for now. We're going to switch over to the video. All right, everybody. We will kick this off. Bear with me. This is obviously going to take a little while for me to get comfortable with the sound.
In Jasper, Georgia, at my dad's house. Man, what a challenging day it was today. Anyway, everything was smooth except for having to leave the family. That sucked.
Yeah, so the day that I left Raleigh, or my house, and then Miss ER drove me up to Raleigh. Caleb had just had strep throat for the last few days and was out of school, and that child's never out of school. So that was weighing on my mind a little bit, and then Teresa had just started coming down with something. So a couple of thought processes was, A, I hate leaving them during all that, and then B, obviously I was scared I might be infected as well, and this would start when I got out on the trail. Luckily, they both got better, and I never got sick, so that was good. Challenges for those of you who followed me the whole way through. I was complaining about Enterprise rental car here, and long story short is I made the reservations online with a debit card. They had no problems. They knew it was a debit card. I clicked it was a debit card, and then when I got there to the counter, they were saying you can't rent a car on a debit card at Enterprise. Other places like Budget you can, but not at Enterprise. So I tell you, when you're leaving for a through hike and you have bare bone essentials with you, like I didn't have my wallet and I didn't have access to any other credit cards or anything. I just brought my debit card. Hindsight being 2020, probably should have maybe brought a credit card. I don't know. That was the only problem I had with it the entire 113-day trip. So, yeah, you're carrying bare bones. So just keep that in mind. Your travel arrangements getting to Springer shouldn't be too complicated. For me, they were, because I was trying to get to my dad's house, trying to have a vehicle that would get up the Forest Road 42 in case it was muddy or icy or something. So I ended up renting a Suburban, a big one, 4x4, from Budget, and then we were going to turn that in Jasper. The only way this would work, though, is because the same person that rented it had to be the one that turned it in. Luckily, I'm the third, Howard David Free the third. My dad has the same name. He's just a junior. Neither one of those things are on our driver's license. So when he takes it back, they don't know the difference between him and me, name-wise anyway. So things worked out for the best. Stayed with my dad, ate biscuits and gravy. One thing, as we watch me up on top of Springer here, one thing I want to remind through hikers is that when you fly, obviously you can't fly with your fuel canister or your gas or anything that you're going to cook with. So for those of you who are using a hostel and they're going to come pick you up and drive you to the hostel or just get you up to the mountain, you got to plan on getting some fuel in there somewhere. So make sure you don't forget that, because things will be busy, your mind will be frantic. But it would really suck to get out on the trail and not be able to eat some warm dinners those first few nights till at least you get to Neel's Gap to buy some fuel. So here I am up on top of Springer. It was 8:46. I remember what I'm saying right here. 8:46 in the morning. I'm about to step off. It was freezing this morning.
All right, y'all. This is the first part where it wasn't so rocky I could pull the camera out a little bit. Coming down off of Springer, still haven't made it back to the parking lot yet.
So if you remember what I was saying when we were looking at the AWOL's guidebook, it is downhill, obviously, all the way down from Springer for a good ways. This morning that was kind of difficult at times, though, because it was a little bit wet and definitely icy. The temperatures were hovering right around the high 20s with a stiff wind blowing. So definitely a challenging day starting off, but I was so excited, man. It didn't matter if it was like Antarctica. I was fired up and ready to go. For all you future vloggers, learn from my mistakes here. So I'm filming in HD, obviously, with my camera. But when I created the movie, I reduced it down to SD so I could get it out easier over 4G LTE. This was just my rookie-ness coming out right here. And really, the viewers, gave me some good feedback saying, hey, man, it's just almost, I don't get to see any of these cool views that you're seeing because of the way you're editing the videos. So I think at first I was thinking, man, I need it to be easier for me because I'm going to be doing all this walking. It quickly became clear that, man, if you're going to take the time to do all this, you might as well just understand the sacrifice and take the time to put them out on HD so people get to enjoy the aesthetic views that you get to as well. Because ultimately what you realize is this makes you feel good out there, but you're really doing it so others can enjoy what you're enjoying. And if they can only see granulated pixels, then they're not going to enjoy it as much. So that was important to me to try to improve the quality of the videos. All right, so the first day, the first 8 miles to Hawk Mountain, to me, are extremely easy and a great way to start the trail off. Beautiful rhododendron down here. I just love the way this trail starts off. Got to Hawk Mountain Shelter. If you see just to the left of my chin there, that's the sign going down to the shelter. You can almost see it from here. If I filmed, if I edited it in HD, you probably could see it. I stopped here. This is about 8 miles in. I met a guy named Joe. He was a military intelligence guy. He got out of the military and decided to walk the AT, and he was eating down at the shelter right now. He's about to walk back up. But we launched about, 30 minutes within starting times of each other, and it was good to meet him. I don't know what happened to him. We followed each other kind of past the top of Georgia hostel, and I kind of lost contact with him. So, Joe, if you're out there, man, I'd like to hear what happened to you, whether you finished or not, and how you're doing, buddy. It was cool. It was cool to start with somebody, another military guy, too. Again, started on February the 16th. Now I'm just strategizing here what the rest of the day is going to be. As you can hear, I was thinking, okay, man, maybe I can make it to Woody Gap and camp out somewhere around there. They've got a bathroom, a trash can. That was pretty aggressive for day one. A little side thought here. This is the first instance of trail magic that I got on the trail, and who knew what was about to blow up in a few weeks, trail magic wise. So I was very thankful to get this water, and the trail would be extremely dry beyond Neel's Gap. So yeah, anyway, so I was moving on to Gooch Gap. We'll cover that here in a little while. I was thinking about stopping at Gooch Gap Shelter after a while, but it ended up being filled with a lot of people, so that's where my introvertedness started coming out really quick. Here's something I want to bring up to everybody. So my plan going into filtering water was just that. I was going to filter the water using my Sawyer squeeze. Now I started with the Sawyer squeeze, the regular size, because I'd read all the feedback about how the Sawyer Mini was just not Didn't have the flow rate and just made people angry. If you take a look real quick, you can see my shields down is already in effect here. Don't know if that was on purpose or whatnot, but I think it was because it just got done climbing a couple of hills and started getting overheated. So I started figuring out really quickly that was a good way to cool off the nether regions, if you will. Yep, so my plan was I was going to filter water using the Sawyer squeeze and my gravity filter system that we'll see here in a second. But for this go, I wanted to try the Aquamira because I hadn't used it up to this point, and I wanted to see how it was going to be. Hindsight, I wish I would have taken this as a hint to, man, it would be much quicker just to pre-mix some Aquamira, a couple of days worth, and just carry some in a little container, like one of those little squeeze bottles like I just showed you that I was carrying the actual Aquamira in. And then just scoop water as you walk by a stream and dump in 7 drops in a liter and close it back up and put it back in your pocket and just keep walking and let it filter or let it kill all the bacteria while you're walking. And that way you don't have to stop. So every time I filtered water, and you're filtering water 2 or 3 times a day depending on how much you're drinking. Here's the gravity system right here. It worked really well. But yeah, like if you count the time it takes to drag all this stuff out of your backpack, get the water, filter it, so on and so forth, I was killing a good hour, hour and a half of my day stopping and doing this. Now, for some people, that would be good, right? Like some people just need that natural break, and these are good natural break times in your hike. So if that's you, and this is just like a comforting break time, then that's all like good on you. Like that could be a really good way to make yourself take some breaks. Me, later on in the hike, I just didn't really want to take this much time and figured out I could just have been using my Aquamira drops the whole time. Some people worry about Aquamira a little bit. Like I've said before, though, I have ulcerative colitis. I have some really sensitive bowels, if you will, and had no issues whatsoever using Aquamira. So I'm not saying that's scientific. I'm not saying that's research backed. But I'm telling you from experience, drinking tons of that stuff on the trail, it had no ill effects on me on the trail anyway. All right, so I had hiked to Gooch Gap Shelter, and that was about 15.1 or something like that. And I got there, and man, it was full of people. Joe, the guy that I started with, he was there. He was going to camp there. He was already eating dinner when I got there, and a whole bunch of other people. So I wanted to go up there and meet some people, right? I signed in the logbook. I remember that, but then I quickly realized, A, there was not a lot of tenting sites around there, and B, I really didn't want to be around this many people my first night. I think, on these first nights, some people are going to be the opposite. They're going to want some people around to help them talk through their day's experience. Me, I'm different. I like to be alone and process and reflect on things in quiet and where I can just be with myself. So either way, I would just offer that the Appalachian Trail provides all of that. So if the question is, hey, can I spend every night the way I want, whether that's with a ton of people or with nobody? The answer is yes. The trail provides all. But just know, there were times y'all saw that I would get up on a shelter and there would always seem to be somebody there. I wanted to be alone at a shelter. And then there were times later on that, I didn't necessarily want to be around people, but all the shelters I was by myself. So if you start in March and April, I don't think you're ever going to have that problem. But I don't know for sure because I didn't start then. All right, so I'm closing out the day here at Gooch Gap. I set up my duplex, had everything set. It was going to be a cold night. I think it got down in at least the low 30s, if not the high 20s this night. Wasn't as cold as it was the night before. I remember that. Really, I'm just going over some reflection of the day with the viewers, with you guys. I want to comment on my headlamp. A lot of questions on gear here. So that is a Petzl headlamp. I got it from work, to be honest with you. It runs off 3 AAAs, and it has the red lens that you can just flip up on it. So that's a note to anybody. I know most of you know this already, but pretending like we're starting at ground zero here. Don't come out on the trail, please, without a red lens on your headlamp, because it's the folks that show up in shelters at 9 o'clock at night, blasting their white headlamp around inside the shelter, basically just waking everybody up, man. That's when you start running into problems. So we should all be under the mindset and questioning our gear setup to where if I get somewhere, how can I be the least intrusive on other people while still accomplishing the task that I need to accomplish for myself. Red light is going to be one of those key factors. I had a great night's sleep here. I had texted the wife this night. I remember this, saying, hey, if this is where I'm at, I think I sent her a pin drop actually from my location. And I said, hey, if you don't hear from me again, it's because some big redneck came down this road and grabbed me. And I remember she texted back saying, I'll have to come up there and kick some redneck butt or something if I don't hear back from you or something. It was funny, but overwhelming to be at night one on the Appalachian Trail, knowing that you have, good Lord, what, 2,172 miles left. Overwhelming the next morning to wake up. So if we talk about mindset wise, what I would offer to all future thru hikers, whether you're going Sobo or Nobo, is Katahdin or Springer. Yes, it's like that big overall goal, but you should not really honestly think about it too much, in my opinion, for the main fact that it's just overwhelming. Like 2,189.8 miles is over freaking whelming to the mind. So this is where you got to start getting comfortable and start getting adapted to trail life and start setting those one-day goals. What's my goal for tomorrow? And really focus and stay present on that goal. And then I have my next level goals, if you will. So that one-day goal is my 1 meter target. My 5 meter target is what town am I going to next for resupply. My 10 meter target is, for me, it's those next big landmarks like 100-mile mark or 500-mile marks. My 50-meter target is Katahdin the whole time. And that's important because if you think about your 50-meter target as much as you do about your 1 meter target, folks, your mind isn't going to be able to handle it and you're probably going to come off the trail pretty early. All right, this sunrise rocked my world. I knew I was in the right place. The moon was waning at this point, and I was in heaven. And that was just an amazing morning as I'm heading towards Blood Mountain. Day 2 is probably, I don't know, like I remember this day so well. It's like I'm standing in this parking lot right now watching it. And that's kind of why I wanted to do these videos, because there's so many things that we don't get to film and things that are going on that I can now maybe highlight in these new videos of, like, this is where I took my lunch break on day 2. And I remember I'd packed some what are the name of the beans? Anyway, they're the dried beans, and I mixed them up like thinking they would be some good trail food, some healthy stuff, and put them in my mouth and start crunching them for lunch and realized I made a huge mistake. And I was eating tuna tortillas right here, realized I made a big mistake. So you guys saw me switch out the peanut butter and jelly and bagels pretty quick, because that tuna in some tortilla wraps is terrible. This is the top of Blood Mountain. I didn't film any coming up. I'll tell you why I think that is here in a second. But I met this guy on top. It took him 7 days. This is a day and a half for me to get up on top of here. It took him 7 days to get there. I was proud of him, so I wanted to put him on camera, though, because he had done it. And then you can see my first editing faux pas here of this scene was in there twice, but it's okay. That guy deserved it. In the next scene, I go from the top of Blood Mountain down to Neel's Gap. So I don't know why I didn't film anything going up or down. Like, that was being critical of myself. Not too good of a film job there, to be honest with you. Sorry about that. So yeah, I wish I would have been better about capturing some of those videos of going up mountains like this one. That's Blood Mountain right there, like going up the side of that, just to give people a realistic, because everybody's scared to death of Blood Mountain. I'm telling you, Blood Mountain is on everybody's mind when they leave northbound from Springer. So I wish I'd have been a little bit better at recording some of that climb, and then definitely the down climb, because this is the first time that you're walking on rocks, and it is a steep decline, as you can see, all the way down into Neel's Gap. And that was rough. Really, my knees are really aching bad as I got down into Neel's Gap. Ultimately, that's about it. I think this video is long enough. I just want your guys' feedback on what you think about this style. To me, I love it, so I'll probably do them anyway, even if people aren't watching. Man, this is something good for me to go back and just to reflect on the trip and kind of let everybody know and myself remember, what was going on behind the scenes and what was in my head. One thing I'll point out are these little dips right here. When you start off, you're like, oh man, that's not going to be anything because it isn't this, right? It isn't Blood Mountain, so I can do all of this. What y'all remember later on in North Carolina, when you're walking ridge lines, this is what it's like. And ultimately, those become extremely hard and frustrating when you do those a lot. So I remember this day, and those were definitely kicking my butt as much as Blood Mountain did, to be honest with you. All right, y'all. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. I will do days 2 and 3 next week, and give me some feedback. Let me know what you think, man. All right, y'all.